you can sit and be patient for 1 minute. Start? Okay. Good. Okay, I see us now. Great. Okay, welcome everyone to our Sutra lecture. We will begin with our Dharma Request. You should be able to find it in the chat box. 欢迎大家，我们现在开始请法。好 ，anytime you're ready.
Okay, Dharma Master. Gong Qing Da De Seng Ping Wei Ci Fa Hui Ji Yi Qie Zhong Sheng Qing Zhuan Miao Fa Lun Jiao Dao Wo Men Ru He Liao Sheng Po Si Li Ku De Le Su Zheng Wu Sheng. Will the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma will to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Sadanto Sujedoye Alahadi Samya Sambuddhoje.
Namo Satando Suchedoye Alahati Samyao Sambuddhoje.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends online, Amitofo, welcome to our evening sutra lecture. We'll be investigating the Infinite Life Sutra tonight, or we'll go over the 48th vow of Amitabha Buddha. 诸佛菩萨、上人、法师、各位三知识，阿弥陀佛。今晚我们会来研究《无量寿经》，研究阿弥陀佛的48大愿，最后的愿48。所以我们先开始来念阿弥陀佛的圣号。So we'll begin by reciting Amitabha Buddha's name. We can let Amitabha's infinite light shine into our hearts and lighten up our minds. Namo Amitabha. I Namo Amitabha. I Namo Amitabha. 阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛。好。
诸佛菩萨、仙光上人，以及在座的法师，还有线上的佛友，大家阿弥陀佛。
All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends online, 阿弥陀佛。
今天是4月15号。
It's April 15th.
Yeah， 我们在伯克利这边来继续研究阿弥陀佛48大愿的最后一愿，第48愿。
So we'll be investigating Amitabha's 48th Great Vow.
它是在我们的这个经文上是在46页跟47页。
Page 46 and 47.
Yeah， 好，我们先来念一下中文，然后再念英文。
We'll recite Chinese and then English.
OK， 好，大家一起念了。48，
设我得佛，他方国度，诸菩萨众，问我名字，不及得至第一、第二、第三法忍，以诸佛法不能及得不退转者，不取正觉。
好，英文。
Page 47. 48. When I become a Buddha, if the Bodhisattvas in other lands, upon hearing my name, do not immediately realize the first, second, and third stages of patience, as well as the stage of never retreating in the Dharma, I will not realize perfect awakening.
这个关于最后一页呢，它也是给机会给所有其他的国度、其他的世界的修行菩萨众，他们听到我阿弥陀佛的名号，不能够马上得到第一、还有第二、第三法忍的话呢，在诸佛法中不能够而且得到不退转的话，我就不起正觉。这个是他发愿给其他众生的其他世界众生的。
So here Amitabha Buddha is making a vow that bodhisattvas in other lands, when they hear his name, they will immediately realize first, second, and third stages of patience, as well as not retreating in the Dharma. And so that's his, you could say, vow.
所以这个他发这个愿呢，就是积德，就是说，他就是马上这一生你只要来修行菩萨道，然后听到阿弥陀佛的名号，来修行，然后你就可以得到他一忍、二忍、三忍就是诸人究竟不退转愿，能够积得诸人究竟不退转愿，所以一直到成佛。
So bodhisattvas, when they hear Amitabha Buddha's name, immediately hears this in this life, they realize the first, second, and third stages of patience, all the way to not retreating.
所以这个我们先了解一下这个忍辱诸忍， 就是各种忍的这个忍日的解释呢，其实我们都知道，忍是忍耐，是忍耐这个违逆的这个境界不起这个嗔心来，就是说你嗔恨这个心不起来。
So let's talk about patience. Patience is when you meet difficult circumstances, you do not have a kind of irritated, angry, resentful mind.
而且这个忍耐呢，又要叫做安忍。为什么？因为你要安住在这个道理不动心，所以这个是又叫做安忍。
So it also means 哪个安啊？
就安住啊。
安住，kind of peaceful, or you kind of are resting. So this is the kind of patience that's peaceful and resting. What that means that you kind of maintain, you stay grounded. You could say maybe grounded in principle, grounded in 人的道理啊。
在这里安住在这个道理不动心。
So you are grounded in the principle rather than having your mind get moved.
Yeah， 意思说人家给你讲好话你就起动心了，这样子不行啦。
So if people criticize you, you can't immediately just get angry and fight back. That's called your mind moves.
Yeah， 好，然后这个而且在我们佛学上呢，它这个管理这个忍日呢，有很多的人，那有2人、3人，然后4人、5人，一直到10人都有。然后其实在我们阿弥陀佛他这里无量寿经里面，他讲第3人，第3法忍，所以我们就来先研究2人、3人到的这个3人这样子。
So in the Buddhist sutras, there are many kinds of patiences. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10 kinds of patiences, and they all have kind of different meanings. But here, because we just talked about the 3 kinds of patiences, we'll go over these first 3.
其实在中国古代中国也有100人的，100个人，这个有一个100人的故事，以后我们可以来研究这个100人。其实我们仙公上人他也有讲过忍这个忍是无价宝，然后这个因为人死不好，假如能够会使用它的话，一切事都能够了。所以这个晚上我们也可以来分享仙公上人对这个忍的这个贤言，就是他的看法。
So also in Chinese culture, they talk about 100 kinds of patiences. There's a story for that, about 100 patiences, and so we may be able to tell that story in a future time. Master Hua has a poem where he talks about patience. He says, patience is a precious jewel that few know how to mine. If you can learn to use it well, everything will turn out fine. And so we're going to also go over Master Hua's teachings on patience.
其实在佛陀时代也有一些忍的故事呢。那今天有时间的话，我们还是会把它来讲佛陀时代的一些弟子对忍的这个故事。
So today we'll also talk about some of the Buddha's stories where his disciples practice patience.
关于这个佛学上的这个忍呢，2忍方面呢，它就是一个众生人跟这个无生法忍这个2个人。
So there's two kinds of patiences.
众生人，
This is patience with living beings.
也就是一切众生啊，不
Yeah, and
不
then the
提
second
真
is
的
wu sen fa zhen, is
Yeah.
the when the patience with dharma is not arising.
嗯
So these two patiences.
所以这个就是说，像众生人呢，他就是说要对于一切的众生呢，不起嗔恚烦恼呢，然后或者是给他们加种种的这个伤害呢，他必须要忍耐下来，而且不嗔恨，也不求报这一些的。
So the meaning of the first one, the patience with living beings, is that you do not have any hatred toward living beings. You don't have any afflictions towards living beings. You don't add more afflictions onto living beings or hurt them in any way. This requires us to have real patience and not get resentful and want to punish.
所以然后这个无生法忍呢，他就是说要我们安住在无生的法理上，就是要去了解，然后在那里不动心。
So the second one, which is the dharma is not arising, the patience of the dharma is not arising, is that we have to have our minds grounded, our hearts grounded in the principle that all dharmas do not arise, wusen, non-arising, and don't move our minds or hearts.
所以像这个僧人呢，刚才讲这个众生人，这个僧人呢，他也是有两个，第一个就是人家恭敬你，或者是供养你，你要忍，然后不要去执着。
So in the terms of living beings, there's two kinds of patiences. One is when living beings are very respectful to you, you do not want to get attached.
还有对于一般人来称骂你，故意来骂你打你，而且你都要能够忍下来，而且不能够生这个嗔恨心。
Second is for people is if people come and hit you or scold you or do mean things to you, hurt you, you need to be patient and don't have a mind or don't have any resentment or hatred.
另外一个就是法忍，刚才讲这个我们对于这个法忍，它也有一个是非心法的。什么叫非心法？就是我们身体外面不是心里面的。然后像这个寒啊，非常寒冷啊，或者是非常热啦，风雨啦，然后你的没有东西吃啦，老病死了，这些都要忍，而不起烦恼。
So there's also two kinds of patiences associated with the patience of dharmas not arising. One is that as explained outside the mind. This is, for instance, like the heat, the cold, maybe various external conditions. And so when these things arise, one is patient.
然后第二种呢，就是说心法，就是刚才讲非心法，现在讲心法，就是说你的心里面嗔恨的、忧愁的等等的烦恼都能够忍，然后你忍下来，而且要不厌弃这一些的这个所受过的这个心的这个嗔恚、忧愁这些烦恼。
So second kind of patience is patience in the mind. This is that you don't want to have any hatred, affliction, all these different kinds of afflictions. You need to be patient with and do not have any resentment. So 不
厌弃啦，就是你就是不
嗔恨，
讨厌啦，或者把它弃掉啦，
yeah,
你不会这样子的。
对你自己的烦恼，对不对？
对，不厌弃它。
So you don't get afflicted by your own affliction, you could say. And that's the second kind of patience with Dharma. So one's external, like external to the mind. So even hunger, old age, sickness, and death are all kind of external to the mind. And another one's internal, which is the afflictions that we find ourselves in.
然后这个现在讲三人，就是有三种人。三种人其实讲起来，在无量寿经，我们就现在讲的这个48大愿的这个三种这个法忍的这个愿呢，它第一法忍、第二法忍，还有第三法忍。
So here's the three kinds of patiences with the Dharma. So this is also defined.
其实这个有很多的解释啦，因为各种经典或者大德他们的解释都提出他们的这个三种忍的这个，像在这个有人提出这个哪三种呢？就是说音响忍、柔顺忍、无声忍这个三种。
So there's three kinds of patience. One is patience with sound, patience with of 柔顺忍. So you're kind of according, you're soft and flexible, and non-arising patience.
这种三种忍，像这个音响忍呢，柔顺忍，这个无声法忍呢，这个就是我们无量寿经这个后面还会再继续讲到。还有三岛大师他这个观无量寿经这个经书，他这个解释里面呢，他也有解释三个忍。第一个就是喜忍，因为你念阿弥陀佛生欢喜心是第一个喜忍。
So Great Master Sandao also gave a commentary on these three patiences. So the first patience is a patience with joy. So when you recite the Buddha's name, you have a lot of joy.
第二个就是悟忍，就是你已经悟到了，你已经觉悟了，然后念阿弥陀佛能够了解到它的真正的道理。你为什么要念阿弥陀佛？你已经了解到了。
So the second one is the awakened patience. This is that you already awake to the reason you recite the Buddha's name. You're very clear. Understand why you recite. You clearly see the benefits.
还有第三种人就是信人，因为你念阿弥陀佛圣号，然后住在正信里面，就是这个三种人信，喜人、悟人还有信人。
So then you have the faith. Faith because you cultivate, you deepen your faith in the Dharma. So this is deepen your proper faith. So these are the three kinds of faith: joy, awakening, and faith. These are the three kinds of patience.
在唯识论里面呢，第9篇他也有提到，人也有三种，就是说能够耐怨害人，就是你能够忍耐所有怨恨伤害你的这个人。
So in the demonstration of consciousness only, this is a text by Great Master Xuanzang. He talks about how patience begins with 第一个哪个？
唯识论，
人有 so three kinds of patience. 耐忍害. So when people are angry at you or hurt you, you have patience.
第二个就是安受苦忍，你要所有的苦你都要能够安下来。
So all the different myriad sufferings, you should be able to be peaceful within. You don't get moved by it.
还有第三种呢，就是谛察法忍，你要来好好的观察这些所发生的这个法理的这个人。
The third is you need to have understanding the principle, the truth. This patience of seeing the truth. 会解释一点吗？
好，你可以。
Okay. I think maybe just to point out a couple of things here. Number one, patience is an easy dharma to cultivate. Oftentimes in our society, we encourage speed and efficiency, productivity, and getting things done. And so it's oftentimes faster the better, right? If you get something done faster, the better. And we really want to make sure that the way we're doing things is quote unquote right. And often the way that's right is the way that I see it's right. And so patience seems to be a kind of a virtue that you could say it's a little bit out of date. That's for somebody else. Patience, I don't know, I think I need to get stuff done, right? And here in the Dharma, it's actually considered the greatest austerity, the greatest practice to purify our hearts, purify our minds. So this is actually a very important Dharma. And right now we're going over all these different ways of seeing patience. So I hope what you see, we have so many lists in Buddhism, sometimes it's overwhelming, but you want to actually go into each of those aspects of patience and see if you can find it within our experience and our relationships. So for instance, it broke the patience up into patience with people and patience with dharmas. Because first thing is we often get impatient with people. And so for instance, Jing Foshu says somebody scolds you, right? Somebody scolds you and maybe unfairly in your mind. And then what happens? All of a sudden the body gets hot, our body tenses up, and we want to fight back, or we want to defend ourselves. Or we get really scared, and we get cold and nervous, right? There's lots of different responses we have when we get criticized or scolded or yelled at. There's so many different things that could happen. Here though, the Buddha is recommending we want to have patience. And recently during a talk with Ajahn Suchito, a Thai forest monk that is deeply respected, left home about the same time River Hong Sure did, gave a talk for DRBU, and somebody asked that exact question. And I thought his response was very good, and it's something that I definitely also aspire to. Sometimes I can remember, sometimes I don't. But what he said was, somebody criticizes you, what do you do? And he said, you first just check in with his tummy, his kind of stomach, his kind of, we call it dantian, and he just relax. And then he'd go back, and he'd check again, he's relax. And after he relaxes a bit, then he would actually see, well, is there anything here I can learn? Is there something here that I can learn? And then he might ask for clarification. What is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? What do you really want me to do? Right? And I thought that was actually a very skillful response, because number one, oftentimes our impatience is connected to our body. If you notice, when we get impatient, our body gets tight. Our body gets agitated. And so if we can calm down our body, then we can have some patience. You can say, really not move. Otherwise, we're always moving. We're always agitated, right? Kind of just jumping at, reacting to things. And so that's first, calm down. And then after that place of calmness, then we can use our minds skillfully to say, what can I learn here? Rather than saying, I need to defend myself, I can say, well, what's actually going on? What can I learn here? And know how to appropriately respond. And maybe I can learn from, well, maybe this person has his criticism is actually a good criticism. He just doesn't know how to say it because he doesn't have the skills to say things in a gentle way. And so, what can I say, right? But it doesn't mean I should not listen to what he has to say just because he doesn't know how to explain it. So this is, I thought, very good advice for how do we stay patient amidst times when we're scolded. How we can stay grounded and learn. And this is exactly what the Buddha gives also in the suttas, in the teachings, when asked about how you receive feedback, he said that's what you do. You maintain a heart of patience and a heart of kind of truth, of kind of investigating, oh, is this true or not true? If it's true, then we can learn from it. If it's not true, then we let it go, right? We don't have to take in the other person's anger or irritation. The second part I thought was very interesting, which is that Jingpo Shi mentioned that we are patient with people who are respectful to us. Usually we don't think about that. We usually think about we're patient with people we don't like, and we have to be really patient. But people we like, why would we be patient with them, right? Do we really think about that? We have to be patient with people we like? No, we really enjoy their company. They make us happy. They make our if I'll put it maybe more bluntly within what we're talking about here, is they can flatter our ego, and our ego can kind of hold on to it and feel really safe, comfortable. But this kind of safety is not a really healthy safety. It's a safety that leads to attachment and clinging. It's not actually real patience. It's actually the mind moving and clinging. And I think for that we also need to have a technique for how do we receive praise? How do we receive attention? Do we get overjoyed? Kind of excited? Our whole body gets like really excited and energetic and happy, right? So we can, again, look at our bodies and see, can I stay grounded and relaxed even when I'm being praised for something I maybe did well? I don't have to get my whole system activated to make myself feel like I'm really important. I can just listen, and know what? I did something that this person made them very happy. So I can be very happy that their life was improved by something I did. But I don't have to cling to it. I don't have to hold on to it. I don't have to believe it and think that's actually true, because if I take it to be true, I get trapped in the praise. I think maybe in the future I need to be a certain way to be okay, rather than realizing I can just relax and be okay, just okay without needing praise. Right? So that's the second kind of patience. I won't go into so much detail just in terms of time, but you can reflect on it for yourself. How are we patient with heat and cold? Can we be patient when the room's too hot or the room's too cold? Or how about when we have our own difficulties arise, when we get angry or jealous or sad or depressed? Can we be patient and stay with the emotion and feeling in the sense of allowing it to be there, but not feeding it and letting it naturally fall away? That's what we're talking about, patience. Patience is this unmoving stability. And I find it helpful to be calm and relaxed in the body, and then the mind paying attention but not holding on to anything. 所以这样简单来说，刚刚静佛是讲这个很多不同的人，那个有两种人啊，然后众生人，然后那个什么无生人啊，这个都有很多不同的解释。很重要，这个人的这个波罗蜜呢，是对我们修行非常有帮助。所以我想，这个我们不只是听了就 OK 就这样子，但真正我们在生活当中，我们怎么用这个人，对不对？我们很多时候想做事情做得快，做得好，做得对，等等等等，然后我们就把忍字就忘了，我们就很积极的去做事情，但是这样子很多时候会带我们自己跟带很多别人很多烦恼。所以这个忍呢，我觉得很有意思，因为那个佛陀就觉得很清楚，很多不同的人，一个众生人，不只是众生人，不只是对众生有忍辱，反而在众生人里面有两种我们要注意，一个就是人来骂我们的时候啊，或者批评我们的时候，我们怎么来回答。最近我们有一个南传法师跟我们来 就是法大来讲法。那有人问他这个问题，所以我在外面的时候，在公共地方有人批评我，我怎么来答复，怎么来回答。然后他就说，我如果这样子发生，我第一个就会来看我的丹田这边，把它放松。然后说他这样子说完就等你下场说，然后呢，我还是把我的注意力放在丹田放松。那就然后呢，我还是把我的注意力放在我丹田上放松。就 OK， 我放松过了一阵子，我就可以想，好，这边我可以学到什么东西。然后这个人讲的话，我可以学到什么东西。我还要做什么？我问他，我可能不完全理解你要我做什么事情，可不告诉你你做什么事情？所以可能你讲的东西对我来说很有帮助，所以你可不可以再跟我讲？但是可能这个很生气的方式来跟我讲，那可能没有这么多帮助。但我想知道，真正是想让我知道什么东西。所以我觉得他这样子回答，我觉得很有道理，跟佛陀的教理也很根据。佛陀怎么教我们来心里不动？如果这是心跟身都不动，虽然有人来批评我们，然后另外如果有人来赞叹我们的时候，我们也需要有忍。很多时候我们想忍字就是别人批评我们，但是别人来赞叹我们的时候，我们可能很多时候会让我们的心动，觉得自己很得意啊，觉得自己很有修行啊，或者很有怎么很重要啊，得到别人的赞叹啊，这个也就是心动了。我们的心不是有定力。这个有什么坏处呢？一个是我们很多时候就变成像到一个小jail 是什么？监狱里面了。不知道你们有没有这个感觉？但是如果你很喜欢别人来赞叹你，你就变成一个小监狱了，因为你就监狱在这个赞叹里面了。你很聪明啊，但你就每一天一直在想，我怎么可以让大家知道我很聪明？你很怎么样？别人赞叹什么？聪明啊，美丽啊，有智慧啊，很谦虚啊，很慈悲啊，怎么样，很有效力啊。你就觉得自己很不错，但就变成陷在一个这个小监狱里面。所以这个我们不用这么来执着这个赞叹，因为我们可以身体也可以放松，那就会欢喜。我这个人可能我做的事情对他有帮助，他很高兴。但他赞叹是什么东西是真的是我们吗？我们做什么吗？我们从别人学到什么东西啊？这个事情不只是我来做成的，是大家做很多因缘而起，可以有这个东西做成的，所以我不需要这么执着。另外，刚刚进佛就讲到这个法忍也有2种，但实际上我们可能没有这么多时间。但是我想大家也可以自己来想一想，如果地方太热或者太冷，我们怎么来反应？我们怎么用这个忍辱的这个道理来把心定下来？如果我们这个情况，我们真正烦恼起了，我们生气啊、嫉妒啊、悲伤啊、不高兴啊，我们可不可以忍？虽然我们有这样子的烦恼，我们不用跟着烦恼跑，也不用再对我们的烦恼有嗔恨心，这个是很重要的。我们就是忍。如果我们有这个忍呢，我们这个烦恼就可以说被消掉。所以我们这个修行这个忍辱波罗蜜是非常重要的。
好，关于一开始我就说要把仙公上人他这个忍日的一个很重要的这个理由，他所的观念跟大家分享。这个是在白山黑水一起因里面这一本书，就是我们望佛圣神出的，就是仙公上人他自己讲述的一本书。所以这个我想在53篇里面， 它就是标题是忍日的这个闲言，就是它一个真理啦，忍日的一个真理。
So this is a talk by Master Hua from a book called White Mountain, Black Waters, and it's section 53, talking about the character patience.
他这个一开始他是有举这个孟子的这个算孟子讲，我想这一段话我们就不再继续解释，所以我们就直接讲上人他自己讲的。上人说他一生用忍耐2个字来做他的座右铭。
座右铭啊，
你知道座右铭的意思吗？
不知道。
不知道，就是做他那个标准的一个来实行他的生活准则。
So Master Hua said he used these 2 words, which is patience, maybe say patient endurance, as his standard. That was his main principle.
他说无论在什么环境之下呢，绝对一切忍受以身，忍受以心，就是他在任何的环境之下，好跟坏都是忍在身里面，身体里面也忍受在心。
So he says, it doesn't matter what situation, it would for sure practice patience in the body and patience in the heart. Well, somebody said motto. So this is Master Hua's motto.
可以，当然你 model 也是可以。还有在他说他在师父面前，或者是他的师父不在的时候，他所做的徒弟，他始终他都是，因为他作为一个徒弟，他始终都不会发脾气的。
So in front of his teacher, or not when his teacher is not around, he's a disciple, and so he doesn't ever get angry.
那为什么呢？因为我那个师父他不像我那么凶，他是很慈悲的。
So he says, why is that? It's because my teacher, he's not as mean, you could say, mean as me, 凶. He's really kind and compassionate.
他说我如果一发脾气呢，他就不吃饭，就是讲仙公上人他一发脾气的话，他的师父他就不吃饭，所以他说我教化这个徒弟没有教化好。
So because he said, if I get angry, my teacher, he said he won't eat food. And he will say, this is because I have not taught my disciple well.
所以这样子呢，他就不想要给他的这个老人家，就是他的师父老人家起烦恼来不吃饭，所以他不敢发脾气。
So he doesn't want to cause his senior teacher to have the difficulties of going hungry. So he wouldn't dare get angry.
那这样子，他讲是说，那我是不是已经没有脾气呢？他仙公上人讲，我的脾气比水都还要大，因为我后来因为我出家修行，就把这个脾气就改了。
So he said, so no, well, so is it that I don't have I just don't get angry? I don't have a temper? He says, no, my temper is really big. It's bigger than anyone else's. However, after I left home to cultivate, I changed this habit, my temper.
Yeah. 所以仙公上人讲我跟你们讲我刚出家在庙上的时候呢，善知识都来了。善知识就是所谓大家知道，善知识就是在考他的这一些来磨练他的。
So he says, when I first got to the monastery to cultivate, let me tell you that that was a time when many good and wise teachers came to test me.
他这个来的人呢，有他的师父的叔叔，还有师父的大爷，还有师兄们，都来欺负他，骂他，甚至于打他，打师父，然后这个还有一些质子徒，就是那一些质子们也都来欺负我，来骂我，这样这个一骂呢，那一个打我呢，四方八面都来了。
So when I left home, my uncle, my grandpas, my brothers, older and younger, they all came to bully me, to scold me, even hit me. They were really upset. One person would hit me, one person would scold me. So they would come from all directions. They all wanted me 要把我打出去啊。
对他意思就是为什么他们这样子，就他就是把他撵出去，就是要把他们踢出去这个庙里面。
They want him to leave the monastery, so that's why they treated him like that.
刚好那时候，因为他在这个守孝过嘛，他在守孝以后再出家，所以他有一点定力，所以在庙上挨打挨骂他都接受了。他圣公上人他自己讲，我不像你们啊，就是说后来跟我们的弟子讲，我不像你们这一些啊，被人家骂了几句就受不了，就爆炸了。
So they wanted Master Hua to basically leave the monastery, maybe probably go back to lay life. But he said, I just endured it. Because I was spent 3 years at the mother's grave practicing filiality, I had some more samadhi power. And so when they came and hit me and got angry at me and scolded me, I just accepted it all. I just happily accepted it. I'm not like all of you. When somebody just says a little bit about you, you just can't take it and you explode.
那圣公上人他就说：“你们这些弟子，你是不是以为我不守规矩呢？”他说：“不是的。”他圣公上人讲：“我是很守规矩的。他们为什么要这样子来欺负我？因为他们看我什么本事也没有，就是说他什么事情没有什么好的本事啦。本事你知道吗？知道哈，就是没有什么能耐啦。
这个是他家人吗？还是这个是那个
叔就是他的师父的叔叔嘛？
这是别的法师来啊。
还有苏大爷，就是他师父的这个大爷嘛。
哦，不是他家人，这是他的。
不是。
哦，sorry，I got it wrong。那是他没有他离开道场。
不是，这个是在道场里面的这个他师父的这个。
So these are
师父的弟弟啦，师父的弟弟就是叔叔啦。
His teachers， 他的师父的弟弟啊。
Yeah。还有苏大爷就是师父的爸爸啦。
师父的爸爸。我们师父的爸爸，他的师父的爸爸。
对，他师父的爸爸。他师父是那个长治大师。
长治大师。
Yeah。
真正的爸爸还是他的
师父的爸爸嘛，不是他的爸爸啦。
Okay, so basically the various family of his teacher would come, so not his actual family, but these other people would come and just basically abuse him. Abuse Master Hua. He said, why did they do this? Is it because I didn't follow the rules? I followed the rules quite well. However, they thought that I didn't do anything. I didn't have any abilities to contribute.
Yeah， 所以他这样子啊， 他说他没有什么能力，他是只有一个人，他只会吃饭，什么事也不会做，所以谁都看不起他。这个仙公上人他自己很谦卑的讲了。
So he says that, I was in the monastery, everyone looked down on me because all I knew how to do was eat and didn't know how to do anything, and so they all made fun of me and looked down on me.
所以在那个时候呢，真是修忍辱修得很好，谁骂我打我，我都觉得这个是来帮助我。
So at that time was a very good opportunity to practice patience. Whoever came and scolded me, whoever came and hit me, it was a great time to practice patience. I thought they were just coming to help me.
所以他看我没有火气，就是没有生气啦。当我时代那时候年纪呢，虽然很轻，我的火气是很大，可是我都可以心平气和的态度来接受考验。
So they were going to come and take a look, do I have a temper or not? At that time, I was still young, and I had a big temper actually, a lot of fire inside. However, I kept my heart peaceful and my energy level and harmonious, and so I was able to take all these tests.
所以你们就是我们呢，现在讲，你们不要以为这个是有了万佛圣尘呢，现在天龙八部护持，从地涌出万佛尘来。这是几十年的修忍辱力修行功夫所致，就是仙公上人他修忍辱修行的功夫所得到的万佛圣尘。
So he says, you all should understand that why we have the 16,000 Buddhas, and now we have all the protection of the gods, dragons, and the eightfold pantheon. And also all the 16,000 Buddhas can emerge out of the ground, essentially, they could say. This comes from decades of practicing patience. Comes from cultivation.
Yeah. 所以仙公上人讲啊，他就讲了偈颂啊，魔是魔真道。真道才有魔，越磨越光亮，光亮更要磨，磨得如秋叶，空中照勤磨，勤磨照退了，现出本来佛。
Somebody know that poem Master Hua wrote about patience or polishing? If you do, you can type it in the chat box. If not, I'll give a rough translation. And you have to know here the word demon and polish are the same sound in Chinese, mo. So demons come to polish the true way. The true way really requires the polishing of demons. You get polished and you get brighter and brighter. The more brighter you get, the more polishing you need. And if you can get polished so you're just like the autumn moon, and Kongzhong Zhao, then you can actually shine in space and illuminate all the various demons. And all the cords of demons are illuminated, and they all retreat, and you manifest your original Buddha. Your original Buddha.
就是磨出来了你的佛性啊。
Your Buddha comes out. All the demons retreat. So I think a spirit of this is to basically say, those demons that come and test us, they're actually coming to polish us, to help us improve.
因为我们修行就是要魔都会来磨你的，所以这个大家要了解。所以像我们每天早上啊做早课的时候，我们早晚课都要念三大宗旨：动词不攀缘，饿死不化缘，穷死不求缘。这就是我们一个写照，就是说我们要记得这个。
So he said that the 16,000 Buddhas three great principles is freezing to death, we do not scheme. Starving to death, we do not beg. Dying of poverty, we ask for nothing. These, 这也是我们一个 are very important
写照跟作用跟
kind of our principles, our guiding principles. You need to all remember this.
所以这个而且呢，他还讲冻死要迎风战，就是说非常很冷，你都是要站着来接受这个考验。然后饿死你要挺着肚子，挺着肚子就是说你要忍饿。然后像在疾风的时候，非常很厉害的这个禁足，就是这个就是那个蜡烛能够站立在这个风中的吹这个风在吹的这个劲度，就是这个耐力。然后烈火里面的真经，就是像我们在炼金的这个在提炼这个金子的这个火一样的，什么也不要怕。
So Master Hua says, when you're freezing to death, you want to stand with strength. You're willing to bear the bitter cold. When you're starving to death, you want to stick out your stomach. You're okay. 要做冰封
疾风中的静坐，就是在蜡烛在风中里面，蜡烛还点着，风吹你就吹不倒。
You need to be like a candle that's burning in the wind. That's just the candle keeps burning.
还有烈火中的真金，就是你要。
You need to be in the furnace. You need to be the true gold in the furnace. So you just don't. You need to have the spirit. You're afraid of nothing.
什么东西也不要怕。他还举他在东北的时候呢，冬天夏天都是只有穿3层布，就是说只有这个三层的这个布3套衣服了。底下1层呢，上面2层都是补丁，都是补缝的，补一块又一块。我不怕你们看不起我，我原本就是穷人出身，能不能呢？当然是能。那为什么要那样子呢？就是要冻死不攀岩。
So says, when I was in Manchuria, during the winter or the summer, I always wore 3 layers of cloth. Each I have 1 level layer on below, and on top I have 2 more layers. They're all made of kind of patched cloth. And then they were all patched up over and over again. I wasn't scared people will look down on me. Originally I was just a poor person. When I was born, I was not a rich family. So was I cold? Yeah, I was cold. But however, but what is so cold? So what? What is the big deal? Well, this is just a spirit. I thought, I'm freezing to death. I'm not going to climb on conditions. I'm not going to manipulate things, control things to get my way or get kind of an advantage. Just cold, let it be cold.
他还讲东北的这个冬天呢，都有3尺深的这个雪，就是跟明尼苏达差不多了。我也在那里待过。他说我不穿袜子的，然后穿了一个罗汉鞋，就到处走。一般人都说这个人是有德行、有道德的人。其实我不是有道德，我是能够忍，不怕冻，不怕饿。
So in Manchuria, the winter times, it can get to be 3 feet of snow on the ground, very, very deep. And just like Jingwei Forsher said, in Minnesota, where he came from, there's a lot of snow. But I didn't wear any socks. I just wore the shoes, the kind of arhat shoes of the monastic. And regular people would look at him and say, "Oh, you really have cultivation. You really have virtue in the way." He says, "No, I don't have, virtue in the way, but I just have this patience. Not scared to. I'm not scared of cold. I'm not scared of hunger."
所以说呢，动时迎风站，20挺度行，这就是我这个意思。最初锻炼不穿棉衣服，也动得很厉害，不过动过去就不怕了。
So he said, so when you're you're in the cold, you stand with strength, you still stand upright, and if you're hungry and you're starving to death, you still stand, you have your stomach kind of stay firm. This is the meaning. 最初 the beginning, okay, I wore a couple of pieces of, didn't wear any kind of good clothing, good cloth, but 也
也是冻得很厉害啦。
It was very, very cold, and so I was, had a lot of freezing. But however, I just froze a bit and just left, and so I was sure you have that experience. You're not afraid anymore.
他是说在东北呢，冻得很厉害的时候，耳朵有时候冻僵了，你一摸会掉，但是他也没有掉。然后他不戴帽子，耳朵也没有掉过。
Says in Manchuria it can get so cold that your ears can freeze and then your ear falls off. But he says his ears didn't fall off, and he also didn't wear a hat.
就是说他动的时候呢，就是非常痛，像针在扎，会痛得很厉害。然后呢，后面随着这个痛过去了，不管怎样子掉了就算了，所以也就忍过来了。
So he says, so in the beginning, it was really painful. Like the ears are kind of just completely got needles going into them. It's extremely painful. But, I just didn't care. Whatever, let the pain be patient, and let it go. And I just used patience to just kind of endure.
还有他这个是忍这个冻啊，然后忍热，热就是在三伏天啊。他说那边夏天的三伏天啊，三伏天是最热的时候，他热了头昏脑胀，还有眼里面冒金花，就是说他真的太热了。然后走路呢都天旋地转的，眼睛发黑。然后我只要坐下来休息一下就好了，所以他用这个忍耐2个字来做他的法宝，来克服一切的困难。忍寒、忍暑、忍风、忍雨、忍饥饿、忍饥渴，一切都忍。他绝不诉白起，就是说他不投降。
So he says with patience, he's patient with the cold, patience with the heat. During the summer season, during especially the hottest time of the summer, he would sometimes have his head would just get really, really dizzy, and he would his eyes would get kind of start seeing things like golden lotuses in front, or when he was walking, he'd get very dizzy, and kind of things were really uncomfortable, and his eyes would sometimes not be able to see anything, go black, go dark. And if he sat down, he could rest a little bit and everything would be okay. But he just kept these 2 words, patient endurance, as his Dharma treasure, and to basically overcome any difficulties that he met. He can be patient with cold, patient with heat, patient with wind, patient with rain, patient with hunger, patient with thirst. Everything he was patient with. And he thought for sure he would not lose to any of them. He wouldn't kind of surrender to any of them.
好，这个是上人他自己讲他的这个忍耐的这个算他的经历过来，所以给我们大家来参考来学习。我想 这个是一个非常重要的，我们大家可以学习的地方。
So this is Master Hua telling his own personal experience with this idea of patience. 我可以问你个问题吗，金法师？这样子我们忍，可能会太忍太厉害呢？像如果我们去外面忍不穿衣服，然后我们动得很厉害，
okay.
我们还是这是忍吗？还是我们怎么来判断我们要做什么事情？还是用智慧来理解我们要怎么来做事情？
也这个像我们在万佛圣城，仙公上人他买下的万佛圣城，就刚才讲了，这个都是他修行出来的一个结果。他第一个就是要有这个功夫，要有这个像我们自己假说没有达到那个功夫，你自己把它当成一个学习的对象是很好的，来慢慢的做，可能今生没有办法达到像师父的这个等级，那我们可以再慢慢来生来学习来做。我想要看了自己的情况，在万佛圣城，我们也有法师来提，像不要洗热水、洗冷水，冬天的洗冷水，然后有的人就试了，但是试了马上生病，所以有的人他可以试试看，但是你要看你的自己能力、环境怎么样子，自己斟酌比较好。
So asking for how do you determine if you can do what Master Hua does? Because he seems very extreme. People know Manchurian winters is like I think like -40 under, and he's wearing, pretty much almost like bare feet, right, walking around. And so for many they get frostbite and things. And so Jing Forger said you have to see Master Hua, his level of cultivation is very high, and the 16,000 Buddhas comes from a lot of his spiritual practice. For us though, oftentimes we don't have that level of cultivation, but we can take Master Hua as a role model, something to aspire to. Maybe we might not get to the same level of cultivation as him in this life, but we can have him as a kind of a direction. But we need to be sensitive to our own conditions. So for instance, there was one time somebody was talking about taking showers, just using cold water for showers. And somebody did it during the winter time, just to do cold showers. But when they did that, they immediately got sick. And so that wasn't that skillful. So we have to be able to discern, how much we can do. But you can have Master Hua kind of as a aim. We want to really be patient with whatever arises.
怎么样？
Okay.
可以吗？
可以。
好，然后这个下面我想来分享佛陀时代的一个像身体上的一个人啊，就是这个也是非常值得给我们分享的这个故事。这个是在《法基经》第7篇里面的一个小沙弥的一个故事。
So here's another story from the Dhammapada. It's about a young Shami in the seventh section.
他这个小沙弥呢，他7岁，7岁，然后父亲呢，所以很喜欢他能够出家，然后当为沙弥，所以他剃度的之前呢，这个小沙弥呢，他得到一个观想的题目，所以就是他还没有去到这个佛陀的地方，他是另外有一个师父，然后这个给他观想以后呢，所以他剃度的时候，他非常的专注观想，因为这个观想他知道 前世，他就得到这个能够知道前世的这个善业，所以剃度之后呢，他就证了圣果了。证了圣果就是当然是阿罗汉了。
So there was a 7-year-old Shami whose dad wanted him to leave home when he was a little kid, so he went to the monastery. At the monastery, he was taught some practice to really focus his mind. And this was even before he formally took the precepts and shaved his head. When he finally did that, he actually had kind of an awakening to arhatship. He was really focused on his contemplation, seeing that this was something he had done in a previous life as well, and it was a good practice for him.
所以他后来他这个小沙弥，然后就跟着他的这个来剃度师，他的剃度师就是提舍尊者，提舍尊者，他们2个师徒呢，就是一起走去守卫城，准备来向佛陀来顶礼。
So his teacher was the Venerable Disa. Tisa Junza, Venerable Disa. And so one time they went to Shravasti together, the teacher and disciple, to go and see the Buddha.
所以在半路上呢，因为还有一段距离，他半路上就在一个村庄的一个经所，就是说就是一个算佛院啊，在那里住，然后那当天晚上呢，这个提手就是他的这个师父入睡了以后呢，小沙弥因为他整个夜里面呢，他坐着在这个他的师父旁边，没有入睡，就是在那里看手，没有睡，只是在接近这个清晨的时候呢，就稍稍的就睡了一下这样子。
So when they were traveling to this Shravasti, halfway they stopped near a village, and then the teacher found a place to stay and get some rest. The younger disciple stayed up all night in meditation and just kind of guarding the teacher, guarding the things. And then right when they was time to get up, they took a very brief rest and then came back.
所以第二天早上呢，一大早这个他的这个师父呢，提手就摇醒这个沙弥，要把他摇醒来，他就用这个扇子呢来摇醒这个小沙弥。
扇子，
用扇子，他有扇子。
So the next morning, since he was resting, the teacher saw him resting and used a fan to kind of wake him up.
这个时候呢，很不幸的，这个用扇子来摇醒的时候呢，刚好去触到他的这个眼睛，所以把他的一只眼睛就触伤了。
It's just too kind of accidentally when he was trying to wake up the little Shami, the fan actually went into the eye of the young Shami and hurt him.
这个触伤当然这个后来就失明，就没有。
So he couldn't see; he had to go blind in the eye.
Yeah. 所以这个小沙弥呢，他就赶快就是用一只手把他这个受伤的眼睛蒙着，然后就出去打水，因为早上起来就是要打一些水给师父洗脸啊，还有弄这个佛殿的这个地板啊这些的。
So the little Shami covered his eye that was wounded, and then went to the river to get some water because they needed the water to help clean the altar, used for cooking and various things.
所以当他就只能够用单手来提水，就是单个手来给这个他的师父来用水，然后这个师父就他不那时候他还不知道他眼睛失明，所以就告诫他说，你服务别人的时候呢，要用双手。
So because he had his eye that was trying to, protect his eye, he had to offer the water to the teacher with one hand. The teacher didn't know he had injured his eye and told him, when you offer water to other people, you need to use both hands.
所以这个时候呢，他的师父才发现这个小沙弥这个眼睛呢，已经是被自己的这个扇子打了，而失明了。所以这个时候呢，这个尊者明白小沙弥实在是一个非常高贵的人。
So at that moment, though, the teacher saw that the little Shami's, the young Shami's eye had been damaged and was now lost its ability to see. And here the Shami is still taking care of all these things. And he realized at that point that the young Shami was a very noble person, a very noble person.
所以这个他的师父呢，就非常的歉疚，就是非常的内疚了，自己觉得非常抱歉，然后非常谦虚的跟小沙弥来道歉他这个忽视。
So the teacher at that point felt very ashamed and apologetic, and very humbly and apologetically said, he really wanted to ask for his forgiveness.
但是这个小沙弥呢，跟尊者讲说，跟他的师父讲，不要难过了，这个他但是这个尊者他也没有办法忘记跟这个事情的发生，不幸的这个意外呢，所以他也是非常难过。
So the young Shami said, "No, don't worry, don't feel bad." But the teacher was quite, he was ashamed of himself, and so he actually felt quite bad.
其实这个小沙弥也是告诉他尊者，这个不是尊者的错，也不是他自己的错，他知道这个是他的业报。
So the young Shami told the teacher, I actually know this isn't your fault, this isn't my fault, this is actually my karmic retribution.
所以这个就是一个小沙弥，他把自己身体受到的这个伤害，他不怨恨别人，所以就这样子一个刚才我们这个人跟的这个是蛮符合的。后来他们就继续上路，他们要去见佛陀。
So this young Shami, although he suffered a major injury, did not have any resentment. So this is really an illustration of the principle of patience. So after that, the teacher and disciple still went on to go meet the Buddha.
所以他们就来到所谓城基督是孤独园，然后即使这些事情发生呢，佛陀都知道所发生的事情，然后他就跟大家说阿罗汉呢，他是不会跟人家动气的，阿罗汉他会控制自己感官的这个冲动，就是控制自己心里的冲动，内心都是非常宁静，非常安详的。
So the Buddha said, after they got to where the Buddha was in the Jeta's Grove in Shravasti, they went to see the Buddha. And the Buddha said, for the Arhat, there is no anger in the heart. They do not get moved by any impulsivity. In their inner nature, in their hearts, they're always clear and pure. free from all anger.
有事情没有哈 ？OK， 好，我们再继续来分享一个，也是法纪经里面的一个另外一个人，他也是非常不忍的、不动心的这个故事。
There's another story about someone who doesn't move their mind, patient.
这个是一个在第5篇法纪经第5篇里面呢，他这个是一个麻风患者，就是说他这个病是麻风病，但是这个患者呢，他都是非常信佛陀，相信佛陀，然后去听闻佛陀说话。他的名字就叫做苏破普达。
So in the fifth chapter, there's a story about a sick person who has mafeng. I don't know what disease that is.
麻风你不知道？
中英文不知道。Stroke.
麻风就是麻风病啊，就是很脸上会有那个很难看的。
So you have some kind of things growing on your face. So it's a
这个是一个病，这个很难治的。
It's a very hard kind of maybe it's like leprosy. And so he went to see the Buddha.
然后他很快的就领悟佛法，就是说知道这个佛法是非常珍贵。所以当这个听法的人都离开以后呢，他就跟着这个佛陀回到精舍去，就是回到他住的地方去。
那边。So when he heard the Dharma being spoken by the Buddha, he very quickly came to some form of awakening, understood the Dharma. So after everyone dispersed, after the Dharma talk, he followed the Buddha back to the monastery.
所以这个时候呢，然后第4就是那个夏克拉，他想测试他对三宝的信心，然后就出现在他的面前，然后告诉他说：“你不过是一个非常可怜，因为他患麻风病啊，很可怜的人啊。人家给你什么你就吃什么，没有人可以依靠你，只要来否定这个三宝，你不要去信三宝。”然后三宝对你没有任何的用处，我马上就给你很多很多的这个财富。
So at that time, Lord Chakra wanted to test his faith in the triple jewel, the 3 jewels. So he manifested before him, and he told him, "Oh, you're just a beggarly person, very poor person. Other people give you anything, that's all you can eat. You don't have much at all. You don't have anybody to rely on. So all you can do is rely on yourself. However, if you can renounce the 3 jewels, and say you no longer rely on them. There's no point at all to the 3 jewels. They're really worthless. I will immediately give you
a lot of money.
Give you a lot of money and wealth. So you'll be extremely wealthy."
然后这个麻风者呢，苏帕普达就跟他回答说：“我绝对不是一个没有可依靠的可怜虫，我是具有圣人所具有的7宝财嘛。7宝财就是信、戒、惭愧、听闻、思和慧，这个就是7宝，我们佛法的7宝。”
So he's saying to return back to Lord Chakra, this man, this leper. He said, "I for sure will not renounce the 3 jewels. I am not somebody who is poor without anything to rely on, nothing to rely on. I have actually the sage, the Buddha, the sage, the sage is 7 treasures which is faith, precepts, shame, or say a conscience, and a kind of healthy respect for cause and effect in others, and then a so that's kind of like a wise, usually called hiri ottappa, so that's the ottappa. Tingwen, I have heard the Dharma, and I can give and also be wise. So these treasures I have.
所以他们这个两个就是跟夏卡两个对话的这个然后之后呢，然后就来到精舍，这个夏卡就跟着来到精舍，然后他把这个麻风这个人的这个对话呢告诉佛陀，佛陀就跟他解释啊，即使就跟他说啊，你即使你1000万倍的这个，你也很难去左右这个麻风苏帕婆达的对三宝的信心，然后使你根本就没有办法影响到他，使他远离三宝，不会的，你不能够做到这样子的。
So then both of them went to see the Buddha, Lord Chakra and this leper. When they got there, they were able to talk to the Buddha. So then they asked, did they talk with the Buddha? In a discussion, they shared this exchange that they had. The Buddha said, Shang, so explained to them and said, well, you know, Shinbai, so Lord Chakra, even if you had
1000个地势的也很难去左右这个。
10 million Lord Chakras who were to come and try to change his mind, the leper's mind, about the 3 jewels, and cause him to change faith, it's not going to work. He will not leave behind the 3 jewels.
但是这个后来过了一会儿，这个麻风人苏帕普达也来了，也来了佛陀也跟他讲这个刚才他们这个夏卡的事情，然后他就回到从这个骑士基古鲁园，他回家路上呢，他意外的就死亡了。
So this person, the leper, came later after Lord Chakra kind of showed up first, and so then when he was after seeing the Buddha and leaving, on the road back, he actually died.
因为这个意外呢，是一个恶魔主导，就是一个恶魔的意外嘛，哈。然后这个恶魔的某一前世呢，是一位妓女，然后因为他被这个麻风者所杀害，所以这个妓女就发誓来报复，所以把这个麻风者就杀死了。
Junior is a prostitute.
Yeah, 妓女。
So he said that the
恶魔是一个。
So in the what happened was, this person was going back home. He was actually killed by a kind of negative spirit, kind of a negative energy. Maybe you could say demon, kind of a demon. And he was killed, but because this demon actually was a prostitute in a previous life that was killed by this leper in the previous life. So this prostitute came back as this evil spirit to get revenge.
Yeah, 他是来报复，所以这个他这个死讯呢，就传到这个孤独园，然后很多的比丘就来问佛陀，这个苏帕普达这个麻风者他往生到哪里去？佛陀就跟他说，他已经往生到忉利天去了。
So this news got to the monastery, and the monks asked the Buddha, so what happened to this leper? Where did he go after he died? The Buddha said he went to the Tushita heavens.
然后佛陀继续说，他这个麻风者呢，他的前世呢，因为他曾经打过一个圣人，所以他今生呢就得到这个麻风的这个病。
So they said, the Buddha also said, why was this person a leper? Was because in a previous life he had hit a sage, and so in this life he had this disease, leprosy.
然后佛陀继续讲说，因为他今生呢，他已经领悟到了这个佛法，所以一切的事情都能够洗涤一切的烦恼。
He said, because in this life he was able to realize the Dharma, then he didn't have affliction. He was able to wash away all afflictions.
OK， 我们讲时间也差不多了。
So our time is up. So maybe we can do our dedication of merit. We have some announcements. I think this weekend, on Sunday, Dharma Master Hung Lai will be doing a Q&A session Sunday evening from 7:30 to 8:30. People are welcome to join. I think you'd have to sign up for the Zoom link from Dharma Master Yong, who's hosting it. So if you know his link, I'm guessing it might be on the CTP website. So that'll be before the 10,000 Buddhas repentance session starts this upcoming weekend. Also, if people are interested, I know DRBU is still taking students. I heard that they've extended the deadline. So if people know of anyone who would maybe want to get a BA degree or an MA degree, want to continue their studies, DRBU is a really good place to kind of, you could say, be in an environment that helps you develop your inherent wisdom. And in the BA program, you get to do that studying classical texts from many, many traditions, Buddhist, Chinese, Indian, Western. And in the master's program, you develop your understanding of the Buddhist sutras much more deeply. And so they're both actually very wonderful programs. I got the chance to do the master's program, and I learned a lot about the Dharma so that I can kind of help it come to life in my life. And in the bachelor's program, I found that it's an interesting way because if you have the spirit of service and wanting to really learn, you get to really understand the diversity of the human experience. And then from that understanding, you can really be of real service to others.
有人提说，因为这个可能是在
中国，
不是在美国，在中国的。他说早上，因为我们12点半，那边是3点半嘛，早上啊，他说早上太早了起不来，他觉得这样没有念到30分钟，觉得还蛮愧疚的，这样子，是不是也要忍？
对啊，什么都是忍。
因为其实讲起来，事情真的很没有办法，全部都是非常圆满。然后我们的时间，因为依照美国这边，我们就是12点半，来念佛。那你们那边3点半，包括台湾也是一样，然后马来西亚都是一样的。所以你们就尽量做吧，就是尽心呐，尽心最重要。假如说没有什么事情的话，你就起来念佛很好，那是非常精进的。我只能够这样子鼓励大家，这样子来一起来念佛，难得的，yeah。
好，那我们现在来回向功德。
Yeah.
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, so that concludes our sutra lecture. Hope you can join us for next week. Same time, same channel.
Okay.
Untitled.
Yeah.
Wish everyone good evening. And that's the Gama.